Ayo, and what do you know? It's your boy, Lieutenant Dan, here, back live from Orlando, Florida. I mean, well, actually, technically, more like Daytona at this point, right? What's going on, y'all? How's everybody been doing? It's been a minute. It's been a minute. I've needed some time to digest things, and there's also obviously life things that are going on right now. So we're working through it. If I could, I'm going to look in the chat here and see what's going on. But chat, could you tell me whether or not the microphone is doing well? I tried to listen to it on the YouTube side of things, and I'm not sure whether we're where we need to be. Chat is working. Yay. Good job, everybody. Good job. Good job. Good job. We did it. We did it. All right. Terrence Holmes, what's going on, my man? Rise up, stay grounded. If you haven't already said hello in the chat, please make sure you do. Make sure you comment in the comment section, hit that like button, notification bell, subscribe if you're daring to do so and land in the nest with us here at Unintentional Grounding. Become one of the grounders here. This episode, I'm going to end up covering just specifically what has currently gone on with the Atlanta Falcons. My initial thoughts of what has happened. And just kind of my reasoning and what I've heard from the detractors and what I've heard from others and so on and so forth. So with that being said, honestly, we should just straight up get into it, huh? I want to where do I kind of like begin with this in totality, right? Like, cuz you don't just start out with and I know everybody in here has probably, heard it to death at this point, but you don't start this out with, oh my gosh, Michael Penix at freaking 8 is the most incredible, crazy thing to do, And I think there's a couple bits to this. Also, by the way, to Ryan Watkins, what's going on, my man? Rise up, stay grounded. Don't tell people things. Don't tell people lies. Don't tell people lies. I did no such thing in any fantasy draft or fantasy rookie draft in any dynasty league. Not even once, not even twice. Okay? All right. So just let's calm, let's relax. Nobody took Michael Penix number 2 overall twice, okay? Nobody did that. Actually, real talk, I did that twice. I took him at 2 and I took him at 6, and 2 first-round rookie drafts in back-to-back leagues on back-to-back days. And I don't care. That doesn't mean I like him. Look, here's a little bit of the unbiasedness, and here's just the straight up truth. After listening to every pundit, after listening to every voice you could possibly listen to, and I mean this in the most respectful way, the bitching has been exhausting. I understand paying a quarterback $100+ million. Okay? I get it. And especially all of the things that set this up. Okay? But where we need to start this conversation is not at the Michael Penix discussion. This discussion needs to start with where the Falcons had to come out of and where they currently are. And I try to make this show over and over because this is episode 1 of a podcast show covering the Atlanta Falcons for 2024. So it just is what it is. But if you're non-Falcons fan or Falcons fan or whatever it may end up being, we need to know where we started without trying to drag out the entire history of the Atlanta Falcons. So if we can encompass it in some way, shape, and form that everybody in here can digest, I think that would be very helpful for the community as a whole. So whether you chop this into little bits and send it out through the internet, or if I don't speak any facts and you guys just laugh at this and never watch this video again, I kind of want to lay down the timeline here. And I kind of want to point out a few pieces of this that put us in this place. And also why I believe what the Atlanta Falcons are currently doing right now is good or bad. And we'll get to that in just a moment. But you started this whole situation out, not in 2008, not in 2016, but you started this entire process out back in 2019, 2020, when you were beginning the transition out of Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff as a whole into a new GM and new head coach and a identity wipe. So we're going to start that conversation there and then go from that particular point. And I think sticking points we will also touch on. Chris Edwards, what's going on, my man? Tyler McCullen. I am just so terrible with names. And that has been my draft curse to try to like name people during the draft and be like, dude, Rook Arororo. As a fan, what's going on, my man? Rise up, stay grounded. Hope you're doing well, brother. Hope you're doing well. Chris Edwards, Terrence Holmes, good to see you guys in the chat as well. If you haven't said hi in the chat, please, by all means, come through. Episode 1 of the 2024 NFL season. And we're going to start talking about the Falcons now that we've got more signings most likely coming on the way, but we're going to start this conversation here. Please come through, say hi. I would love to say hi back. If you would like to help this channel out, hit the subscribe button. Join the membership program. Let's move this through the summer and let's get some real stuff going on. Every time, Dan. Every time. I'm just gonna be like, "Hey, what's up, Tyler? What's good up, bro?" I'm gonna be the lamest YouTube content creator, the lamest YouTube content creator who also takes the longest time to ever post any content that doesn't pay out. I think it does. I think in some way, shape, or form it does, because I'd like to think that I'd like to calm everyone down and be able to come to the table and be able to talk this out bit by bit. And I think no one does that because there's a lot of reactionary, to everything. And I just kind of want to bring it down a couple of notches and be like, hey, this is what we got. This is what we got going on. I can get fiery and passionate, but this is what we got going on, you know? So now that we're caught up. So we enter this conversation with the old guard, and it's get your coffee, get your milk, get your power protein shake, get your OJ, your sweet tea, whatever it is, get a water, take a sip because we're about to start this thing. You step into this conversation with the exiting of one coach and GM and entering a coach and GM with cap restrictions heavily on your team because of the type of contracts that you have laid out before Falcons players. This we all know because of Deion Jones and Vic Beasley and Takk McKinley, and you gave a lot of money to Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, and You gave money to Jake Matthews, and you gave money to Grady Jarrett, and you know, these contracts cooked up. They began to fill up as many burners as you had, and you didn't have any place left to cook. Or ingredients, honestly, to be able to cook either, because not only did you handcuffed yourself to this group of players, but you also put an anchor on your leg and threw it into the ocean with a long chain and said, it's only a matter of time before this either A, drags me down, or somebody comes in here. We have breakthrough. We win a championship. We win playoff games. We get people excited about coming into the Georgia Dome, into Mercedes-Benz, and start really, you know, getting this vibe set, getting these people set for a new look Falcons, a new feel Falcons. And for whatever it was worth, bad business decisions were made, and long-standing ties happened, and the Houdini trick didn't work. And so you handcuffed yourself, you tied the anchor to your ankle, it fell into the sea, and the chain was pretty long, but you ran out of chain because that thing sinks fast if things aren't working. And so Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff, and to some degree, and probably a pretty large degree, I think everyone in this chat right now can agree to some extent, or a large extent, that Arthur Blank also failed in what he was trying to procure. This is true. I mean, you brought Matt Ryan in back in the day, and this is what you ended Matt Ryan with, sending him off to the Colts because you pissed him off and destroyed a bridge that, unfortunately, even though Matt Ryan looks like he's kind of been like, it's okay, it is what it is, but the rest of the team as a whole suffered. And you destroyed your image with your fans. The Alfred and Trufant and Deion Jones deals, and Devontae Freeman paying him, and Tevin Coleman being wishy-washy about his injury history and whether or not you want to keep him in the fold, and so on and so forth, with so many project players and so many pieces. I'll tell you right now, it's tough to keep track of it all. So after you wanted to go get your young stud, someone that represented what the city would want to kind of like, associate itself with and speak of the city. And to some degree, everybody laugh. It's a joke. Please don't, fire and brimstone and pitchforks and whatnot. But Deshaun Watson coming to Atlanta would have definitely represented what's going on in Atlanta right now. But luckily, the Falcons, even though they threw out a convincing search and every penny on the dollar, but they're trying to use as many of those coupons as they possibly can to save on the things that they know as necessities: bread, milk, eggs. Okay? Necessities. And it's almost as if the Falcons knew that they needed bread, but they had a freshly baked loaf in their hand, and then on the other side of it was like Little Debbie cakes, and they're like, that's considered bread, so let's go with that instead of trying to go with a fresh loaf. And the fresh loaf is going with the quarterback really high in the draft instead of going with the Kyle Pitts of the world and the Londons of the world and the Bijans of the world. And let's just get it through our Falcons thick skulls that, as much as we appreciate and they're some of our favorite players, Pitts, London, and Bijan does not equal good quarterback play. Doesn't matter how many good weapons you have. As long as the quarterback is low tier, it's just not going to work. Which brings me to my first major stoppage of the episode 1, since we don't have any since we don't have any of the commercials or advertisements here, and this show is basically run by you, the consumer, it's time for me to make a fault of minutes to you guys, in that Desmond Ridder was trash. And Go ahead. Clip it. Clip it. Go ahead. Clip it. Clip it. Clip it. Clip it. Terrence Holmes, thanks for joining me on the lunch break. Go in there and enjoy and come watch the rest of this after the fact. This is where Terrence Holmes stopped listening. If you're Terrence Holmes, come back and listen to this part from this point right here. Terrence, start listening now. Okay, cool. Desmond Ridder was trash. And as much as people want to just go, Desmond Ridder's trash, it was all Desmond Ridder. You have to take into consideration the rest of the entire offense. Having the tight end throw to another tight end. And I'm so confused by the decision making of the front office in the idea that, okay, so we're going to go get a guy who's been a 5-year starter in college football. He's got a good arm on him, and he works in a spread offense, and let's put him in a condensed play action offense, and that will totally translate because all he needs to do is make simple throws. Am I right? Oh, and by the way, let's just sit Bijan Robinson. Let's use Kyle Pitts when he's not healthy. Let's have Jonnu Smith throw the ball. Let's try to get Scotty Miller to be the developmental total top wide receiver in times when we should probably be throwing to our guy, Drake London. Oh, no, we don't need to throw to Drake London because we can throw to Tyler Algier. I mean, and Tyler Algier has been an 1,000-yard runner for us. So, obviously we can utilize him in these, little ISO thunder packages and things like that. Throw to him on angle routes and whoopity-doody-doo. Felipe Franks. I really don't need to say more than that, okay? I don't. If Felipe Franks on your team, I just, whatever that tight end's name is. But you brought in Marcus Mariota because that's the guy you're familiar with. Trash. And then you brought in Henneke and Ridder to battle it out. A guy that is not ready to play in the NFL and needs time to develop. Why would you use it on a third-round quarterback? And this, I've had this discussion to death. I don't even want to replay this discussion, but very quickly. If you're going to draft a quarterback for development, you should probably develop him. How do you develop a quarterback like that, especially a third-round guy? You put a familiar offense around him. Why, as an offensive coordinator, are you out here promoting this offense and saying, I know you don't fit my mold, but conform right now or you're off the team? It's like you could have just not spent a pick on Ridder, and you could have just kept Henneke and had him throw the ball. It would have been the same thing. It would have been the same exact thing. Same exact thing, and you wouldn't have wasted a draft selection. So now we get into this talking point. So you fire that coach, and you hire a coach who is from a team. You hire a coach that is from a team that's in a spread offense. That is in a one-back system, no fullbacks. By the way, go check the roster right now. Go find me a fullback. Go find me a fullback on the roster right now. You won't. You won't find anybody. I promise you that. You won't find any fullbacks on the current roster. You'll find some extra tight ends, though. So you move Matt Ryan, strategically gain a selection from him, gain a selection from the Ridley situation, and you have to clear the coffers. I mean, you really have to. You have to do it, right? Like you have to get all of these guys out and then bring all of this in. But your plan in the meantime is to put all these weapons out there, right? Your whole idea is to put weapons out here, and then not build around a quarterback. It's very backwards, very, 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 very backwards. So knowing that you have one last chance to be able to do this, Terry Fontenot goes, I'm bringing in a guy who's from a spread system, who knows this offense very well. His plan is to bring in a guy that has been charting for Pro Football Focus, for PFF. He's been charting all the best wide receivers and all of the quarterbacks, and has been the wide receivers coach for, and now the quarterback coach for, the LA Rams. And they just executed a massive trade, Jared Goff for Matthew Stafford. Banging in the house. So you execute this maneuver. You gain these selections. You gain capital back because you've rid yourself of bad cap. And now, and chat, please jump in at any point. Please jump in here, because then you end up going, guys, all of that experience right there leads us to believe that we should go grab the best free agent quarterback that we can procure in order to say we will not live in this situation any longer. And it's early in the process, so of course, Rich McKay, Arthur Blank, and of course the coaching staff with Terry Fontenot comes together and they bring in Kirk Cousins. And my initial reaction on that was, oh gosh, we're tied to Matt Ryan again. Another big contract. Guy who's above average. Has arguments about being in that top. It's like going back to Matt Ryan all over again. Matt Ryan could land anywhere from number 15 to number 1 on Falcons fans' boards of top quarterbacks in the league. At least threatening at any point in his career because of how just sturdy and steady he was as a competitor. Yes. So then you transfer to the Kirk Cousins of the world, and you have the same exact situation coming out of Minnesota off of a major injury, going out and throwing at practice and preparing himself and getting into some weird trouble with the NFL off of tampering. And now you're sitting here at pick number 8, the Atlanta Falcons. They're a brand new season, possibly going after the NFC South, and you take Michael Penix Jr. at 8. You should look at my reaction. Somebody sent a picture of me reacting to Michael Penix Jr. being selected when we did the draft show here on Unintentional Grounding. And when that selection happened, I understood it from a mile away because I was talking about this early in November, October. I was like, Michael Penix Jr. is going to end up being the Atlanta Falcons quarterback. And then I cooled down, and then I became more mainstream because that's what you do. You weigh out the odds and you become more mainstream, and you go, well, this is more realistic, right? Realism, right? So you take that realism and you go, okay, cool. This is what we currently have available. And then the team throws the wrench of, oh, we went out to go see Michael Penix Jr. throw, and Michael and MPJ is out here slinging. We love it. He's hitting everything. We fall in love with him. We pick him at 8. We justify it by saying This is the future, and this is the now. You don't tell Kirk Cousins. That's a problem. You create some tension because you don't want this to be a quick in and out type thing for Kirk. Kirk can stay as long as he wants, but we're taking Michael Penix Jr. Michael Penix Jr.'s age, Michael Penix Jr.'s injuries, Michael Penix, it went on and on and on and on. Of all the podcasts that I heard, all the information that I've taken on the last couple of weeks, almost an entire month of thinking about this process and thinking about what they've done and not really posting on here and finally coming on here and coming to you guys to say that I don't buy the way that the Atlanta Falcons have piece by piece put this process together because it looks bad. However, I think what they're doing is what every NFL team should be possibly doing. Is that quarterback should always be the wild card pick, no matter where you are in the first round. Especially the top 15 picks. And I wonder what people here in the chat really would say to the fact that taking quarterback is more important than taking any offensive weapon, especially if you need one. And I'm not talking about quarterback, especially if you need a wide receiver, tight end, or running back. And there's any question whatsoever about what's going on in that quarterback room, take a quarterback and you'll find the answer very quick. Take a quarterback and you'll understand exactly where the team is going, exactly what's going on as a group. You'll know everything. And when you add a tiny bit of talent to a room that has any question whatsoever about talent being there, and you'll find out real quick who the good guy and the bad guy is. And you'll be able to make that trade and make those changes. So while I don't agree with how they did it, because taking Kirk and then taking Michael Penix Jr. is basically proclaiming to everyone that you do not feel safe with Kirk's injury, and you feel like he's going to have a down year, but this was your best option to allow Michael Penix not to be overwhelmed by the speed of the game or what's going on in the NFL. You feel that Michael Penix still has time to grow. Any one of the draft pundits out there is going to tell you right now that Michael Penix should be starting. And that's a twofold thing. One, to plant their flag in the fact that they think that Michael Penix is ready to go so that they can justify Kirk Cousins not being here and say that if you take Michael Penix Jr., he should start. If you take Kirk, he should start. There shouldn't be any competition in starting or not. You should always have competition at every single level. Lamar Jackson should be tested. Is it smart to allocate resources to something where you have a guy that's one of the best in the entire league? Maybe not. But if there's any question that Kirk is the best in the league, and there's definitely a question about whether or not Kirk is top 5. Top 10 is probably even smoky too. Top 15 is probably the start of the question. And if you're talking about a top 15 guy, is good enough? That's a real question. Is good enough? I think you enter into dangerous water when you say is good, is just being good at quarterback and then allocating resources elsewhere enough for you to be able to win a Super Bowl. I tell you right now, there's a reason why the Rams got rid of Goff and went after Stafford, because they knew it wasn't good enough. That version of Goff was never going to get them to a Super Bowl. Him being in that city was never going to get them to the Super Bowl. And Kirk has been through 2 teams now, right at this very particular point in time. And I will put credence onto the fact that from the Washington organization that had incredible coaching talent and had a really good, solid team around him, to the time that he has gone to Minnesota and also had another facet of amazing coaches around him and another facet of amazing players around him, albeit it's been more of a build than anything. Kirk Cousins has not elevated either one of those two teams. But he has played like a top 15 quarterback in the entire league. Archangel, good to see you. Stan Anthony, good to see you, my man. Rise up, stay grounded. The Matthew 427, good to see you, brother. Rise up, stay grounded. I hope you're doing well. So if there's any question whatsoever about your quarterback room, then you should not be even slightly surprised. I mean, come on now. And to especially question, especially after an injury, to question Kirk in the idea that we, just like with Stafford, we're bringing in the experienced vet to come in here and play at a high level. But we know this is not a long-term solution. And the Rams are having to deal with that also with a little bit of a money problem as well. So the Rams are having to make strategic moves in order to keep this going because they've got some money that they need to be able to move around. I think the Falcons are about to be in that position. And I think falling in love with Michael Penix Jr. during the process really saved them. Because while, again, it's not a good look. I mean, I don't think anything the Falcons have done since Terry has really started here has been a good look. It's just been necessary movement, and it's been stuff that no one wants to admit is the right way to do it. You're so strapped for cash that you can't build a defense, and so strapped for cash that even the older players that you're getting, you're not able to provide because you're having to. 4 years since Thomas Dimitroff had started with Atlanta, for years you were having to play catch-up, right? It's catch-up to this position, catch-up to that position. When you were done with one, then another one popped up, and another problem, and another problem, and another problem. And there was never a steady flow or wave of talent that was able to diversify this team because there was always coaching change, offensive coordinators constantly changing, and the mainstay players were keeping the team together, and they were glued, but the drafting every year and the development of those players were bad. So it was never able to actually develop. It was always like you hit on one guy, you hit on a gym here, you hit on a gym there. And now the Falcons go in and say, yes, we want to compete. Just like every other single team, we want to win a Super Bowl now. Even if our talent does not show that this is a Super Bowl caliber team, we want to compete every single year. It's not that hard to understand that we want to compete, that we actually don't want to tank. But if the Falcons came out here during their time with Arthur Smith and told you that they wanted to compete, a lot of it was an outdated formula and no real nuance with a bad QB situation because you don't have time to develop the QB. You're on such we got to turn this around because what do? You've got to get rid of the quarterback situation with Matt Ryan. He owed you so much. You owe him so much money. And a star wide receiver that was aging that was also kind of like holding the team in a stranglehold. And guys like Deion Jones and Devontae Freeman and Desmond Trufant and things like that were also, heavily keeping you cap dependent on keeping veterans here so that you could have a high level of talent because otherwise you were going to fall apart. And Terry Fontenot comes in here and begins moving things. Not every single one of those moves is specifically him, but begins to move these things and move the team towards a direction of change, of a direction of change, because you need to free up money so you can be able to actually afford players, which means you're going to have multiple years, and I mean 365 years, days of not having the cap space in order to be able to bring in real talent, and then come in and bring in building blocks like Jesse Bates and keeping guys like Jake Matthews and drafting heavy hitters like Bergeron and keeping guys like Lynch and McGarry together, even though it's not the popular opinion to keep those guys. But it creates a solid line, a solid enough line that you can actually make up for your center not being, world class. He's about average to above average. You really put a team together that is not going to be hampered. And because you kept those guys together, your average play individually now becomes above average or greater as a whole because you all fit together because you've had familiarity with each other. And you developed under a coaching staff that wants to develop you, that wants to keep you, together. Maybe that's the one thing about the Arthur Smith time, is that even though Terry Fontenot has kind of ripped the wallpaper off and there's still bits and pieces there, and he's having to kind of rip those off slowly but surely, now you've put this whole group together and you've said, well, Kirk's going to be here and now he'll utilize the talent well for a year or two while we're shuffling some contracts around to be able to keep this team mostly intact for what it's worth, because at the end of the day, some formation of the New Orleans Saints is what the Falcons are looking for. And maybe now even with Raheem Morris here, it's potentially going to look more like what the Rams are trying to do, or just what Raheem Morris is trying to end up, covering. In your opinion, was Penix the most talented QB in the draft? Talented. That's just such a weird mark to try to cover. Like you say, is he the most talented guy in the draft? And I go, I don't think it's a bar. I think that's more like a box, and there's like 100 boxes around it. I think Michael Penix Jr. gives you an incredible arm. Probably competing for number one arm on the team, not on the team, but in the draft class. People don't want to hear that, but I think he has a better ball than Drake May. I think that Michael Penix Jr. definitely throws a better ball than Jaden Daniels does, and I'm number one Jaden Daniels fan. I could have taken him multiple times in my fantasy stuff, but I didn't. I passed on it. But I will say this, that based on what Michael Penix can do as a quarterback, is he the most talented overall? I mean, he doesn't have every single tool set in his bag. I don't think really any quarterback in the entire draft class has a tool belt as deep as or as full of variety as a guy like a Caleb Williams does. But I can't look at Caleb Williams as a complete player without seeing his development course. That's the next part of the Caleb Williams discussion. I think that's the same thing with Michael Penix Jr. as well. So where do we land from here? Well, I think everyone in the media standpoint has currently said, I give them an F, they failed, they're disgusting. I think the only group that currently is very pro this particular move is PFF, just because they go, while I can't see the money side of it and why you would possibly not go with just one or the other, this style of development could be incredibly toxic or incredibly helpful for Michael Penix Jr. And if it is the incredibly helpful part, then you're looking at Michael Penix Jr. for the next 10 years, probably developing and growing into one of the best quarterbacks in the league and taking over the league if, obviously all the other pieces fall as they would in a perfect scenario. But I think even if you don't have a perfect scenario and you have a partially complete scenario, you have a Michael Penix Jr. that does deal with some injuries, but is a 24, 25 touchdown throwing kind of guy with like 5 or 6 interceptions per year. Then I'm down. I'm down with that Michael Penix Jr. because that Michael Penix Jr. is showing me positive numbers. If he's a 28 to 32 touchdown passing guy, then we might be winning some playoff games. You know what I'm saying? So I look at this and go, from a money standpoint, Kirk signed the contract. Kirk signed up to play here. Michael Penix Jr. has nothing to do with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins needs to go out there and be healthy and play, because the backup plan is not to sit down and let Heineke start. It's to immediately allow a guy like a Michael Penix Jr. to go, well, are you ready or not? Your first-round talent. We believe that you could be ready. So go out there and go be ready. And I think that's where the Falcons are currently sitting. I don't think it's a fear thing, because if it was fear, then you would have seen the Falcons make a much bigger push for guys like Lamar or Deshaun, because they would have been like, that is the ultimate game plan. But they nickeled and dimed that particular type of plan. So they wanted it. They wanted what they could get for the best price, and I think they finally found a guy that understood what they were talking about. I want a top 20, the top 15 free agent quarterback and or trade acquisition that leaves us in the best condition to not only win the 3 to 5 games lost by bad QB play, but also win those other 6 to 7 games that these quarterbacks struggled through and we were able to win by one way or another. That level can be upped, and that we can do better with a top caliber quarterback, or at least better than half the league type of quarterback that can win us games. And if that quarterback, based on the conditions that he currently has at this moment, ends up having another season where he's derailed, we are not going to sit back like we did with Matt Ryan or with Mariota or with Heineke Ritter. We're not going to sit back in that particular area. We're going to develop that quarterback. And we fell in love with Michael Penix Jr., and we're not going to be able to trade up into the top 3 picks. So the best option for us is Michael Penix Jr., because they felt in their mind after their visit with Michael Penix Jr. that he was better than J.J. McCarthy. End of discussion. That literally ends the discussion on whether or not there was a better option or not. The moment that the Falcons said Michael Penix Jr. is better than J.J. McCarthy, without question, no cap, then that was it. Boom, it was over. It was over from that moment on. And that's why I sit here and go, it's been talked to death, but I believe where the Falcons have now turned the situation around is that they've been doing what we've been asking them to do since Matt Ryan's Super Bowl loss / kind of like ascension into the latter part of his career, and kind of like the epitome of his time here in Atlanta. Kind of the last remnants, and showing exactly why he's been the reason this Falcons team has been afloat. Because, Matt Ryan leaves, and we can't have a winning season. Or we're close to a winning season, but it's just like by a game. Like, you've got to be kidding me. We've been saying it forever. This team is now ravaged. All the talent got pulled and then put back together again. Quarterback situation was not handled. Kirk Cousins is the best opportunity to win right now and give us, wins. That's what we're looking for. But we don't feel good about Kirk Cousins' injury, and we're not going to sit there and telegraph what we're going to end up doing in the draft class, put ourselves in a corner, and somebody trade up above us and trade enough of the farm to hurt us and stop us from getting Michael Penix Jr. Obviously, the NFL and the teams around the Atlanta Falcons liked J.J. McCarthy a lot better than Michael Penix Jr. and obviously showed that they thought Bo Nix was the last quarterback that they would take. It's the truth. I think Michael Penix Jr. would be a Bronco if he landed at the Broncos spot right now. He would be a Bronco. 100%. So where I sit here now is saying that this Falcons organization has just told you We understand what happened then, but it's not reactionary because we picked up a quarterback that's going to help us win games now. But you wasted resources on Michael Penix Jr. If Kurt goes down, Michael Penix Jr. can start. But then you'll have this dead cap hit. We obviously have already set ourselves up for the possibility of the cap going up next year as well. And we have planned accordingly by allowing our contracts to be open-ended on a lot of areas. We didn't even invest in CB2 because we believe that we can work with it, knowing that this process is still to a degree. And how large the degree is up to you, the listener. But to a degree, this team is still flawed. We understand that. But with better QB play, we will win a lot more. The only thing that Atlanta has to necessarily feel even remotely afraid of is shooting themselves in their own foot. Tampa, maybe. And if Michael Penix Jr. sits, and just because of his age and his injury history and whatever excuse you want to pull up, if the Atlanta Falcons end up winning the NFC South this year with Kirk Cousins under the helm and win one or more playoff games, not only getting to the playoffs, but win one or more playoff games, they will have accomplished exactly what they were looking to accomplish, which is put butts in seats because they got to the stinking playoffs. That's what they want. That's where they want to go. Wouldn't you? If you were the coach, wouldn't you want the team to go to the playoffs? Wouldn't you want it to be successful? Wouldn't you want butts in seats? Wouldn't you want to be paid? Well, if you're going to end up doing that, in order to get that done, you have to have talent now. Well, Michael Penix Jr. could have just started. Yes, Michael Penix Jr. could have just started, but if you put yourself in that little cubby hole, in that little corner, Kirk Cousins goes somewhere else, or he re-signs with the Vikings for cheap. You lose out on that opportunity, and now you're depending on Michael Penix Jr. to turn all this around after just showing the fans that you weren't capable of being able to do that with the previous coaching staff. And if you fail on that, then this whole situation is fucked, and they're going to want everybody fired, including the owner, and they want everything burned down. That's the truth. You know it. The listener know that would be the case. It's a repetitive, infinite, never-ending cycle of continuous drudgery. Living the same yuck over and over and over and over and over. Madness to the nth degree. Because you can't live with nice things and hope and faith that things are going to work out. Because you've been burnt too many times as a Falcons fan. Or at least that's your answer at this point, talking about it, right? I myself am that same guy. I said Matt Ryan is good enough to be able to get us there. But to finish it off, we have to have more. And for years, they didn't do it. All right, it's time for us to start thinking about the future behind Matt Ryan. Because if I don't know about y'all, but I've been a Matt Ryan defender forever. This is me talking in the past. Why do I need to continue to defend Matt Ryan? It's time to start thinking about the future. And every year, a pass up, a pass up, a pass up, a pass up, because Dan Quinn knew he couldn't handle a rookie quarterback. He couldn't do it. Look at what Arthur Smith has done. I can't handle a rookie quarterback. And so I want Mariota. I kept Matt Ryan for 1 year. Terry Fontenot says, we have to move from that. Well, go get me somebody because I can't handle fine, Mariota will be fine. I'm going to take Desmond Ridder in the third. I don't want you to take Desmond Ridder in the third. That's a waste of resources. We need to develop a quarterback to be able to. I can't develop a quarterback. Too late. I already pressed Desmond Ridder as a Falcon. All right, I'll bring in Heineke because Mariota didn't work out, and we'll try to work something in. You may have convinced me because those last 4 games, Ridder looked great. Ridder comes out. Arthur Smith is a bum. Can't get this guy settled down. They don't have the coaching staff to settle this guy down. The players are hurt. And Desmond Ridder just because he's already a little shaky. He's already a little shaky. Now he needs to go somewhere else. We get rid of him. Now we bring in Kirk Cousins. Yes, now things will be fine. Now the new coaching staff comes in. They're like, we have a plan for things now. We can get this done now. But we feel confident that we can grow a rookie quarterback behind Kirk Cousins, and what an opportunity it would be. Let's just not tell Kirk, because we don't need to start this whole thing. We don't need to start drama within the media. Falcons, you were always going to start drama within the media if you don't flesh everything out, because the media currently are mega super hater fans. Even the nicest ones are bent over backwards because of this organization's lack of awareness. Even the best ones, the nicest ones to us fans, are just a lead pipe bent in multiple directions, forward, backwards, at a 90-degree angle, going sideways. They're bent because the Falcons have not been able to actually handle a team correctly for many, many millennia. And don't give me this 2016 year or the run in 2011, 2012 to the playoffs. We got stopped by San Francisco. Don't give me any of those things there. This right here was the last time, if you're watching currently, if you're not just listening to us as a podcast, I'm pointing at a Michael Vick's jersey. This right here was the last time the team was truly, truly exciting. I want somebody to tell me Cap in the chat. I dare somebody to tell me Cap in the chat. Because even the worst days, this team right here, this right here was more exciting than anything that we've had. More exciting than Julio stuff. And you can be a straight up in denial about that one and be like, no way, Matt Ryan and Julio Jones was the craziest thing. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Michael Vick was 10 times more exciting than Julio Jones was. Sorry, Julio. Sorry, who? Sorry, man. You're one of the greatest wide receivers to ever play the game in Atlanta. You just weren't as exciting as Michael Vick was. Never. Never in a million years. Would not be me. No offensive talent has even come close to this right here. This right here, this is where most Falcons fandom has hit a wall. So now let's fast forward. You want people in seats? You got to win games now. It's not as simple as just put exciting product on the field like Michael Vick and people will flock to it. You got to taste a little taste on the tongue of what that was like. So now you come in and you go, oh, so if we get something exciting, we can make people come in here. You lost that window of opportunity. That window opened. The air went out. You closed that window. It's gone. It's over. And that wasn't really your fault, but circumstances call for change. Yeah? Yeah. So now let's go forward. Let's go forward from this. Time and time again, you tried to whitewash this to make this right. Matt Ryan came in here, painted a fresh coat of your favorite color of paint on a house. And you just loved it. You weren't super satisfied the fact that Matt Ryan had to come in here and do the whole bit. But you came to love it because Matt Ryan put a clean, fresh, just crispy lines. It's like going to the barber. And you're like, I just want my regular barber. And this guy comes up and goes, nah, man, I'll cut your hair, bro. You're like, I don't trust you. You're not my barber. And he's like, nah, man. It'll be clean. It'll be fresh. You look good. Okay. And then you and your matty ass, ratty hair. He comes in. He starts cleaning up. Good lines. Good fade. Taper looks amazing. Got you looking clean. Did the whole face. Boom, boom, looking at it. Oh, my gosh. Looking great. He plucked them eyebrow hairs out of the middle, bruv. He gave you the hot towel. Hot towel treatment. He came in there with the good cologne. None of that shit that burns the face, dog. He gave you that. Yeah. Go get him, Tiger. Go get him, big man. Guerrilla warfare out here. Everybody, if you ain't looking clean, nope. And Matt Ryan is that new guy. Did the whole bit. And now that guy was like, hey, man, I'm leaving the shop. You know, the shop doesn't want me here anymore. I got to get out of here. He leaves. And new boys come in, and it's a group of these youngster dudes. They're coming in. Hey man, I can do your hair, man. Let's go. And he just messes it. He fucked it up, bro. He fucked it. It's done. It's done. It's done, bro. It's done. It looks terrible. It's all over the place, dog. We don't even talk about it. You didn't even pay, dog. It was so bad. You showed him you showed him emotional damage after he cut your hair. And now the shop comes in and they tell you, hey man, you know, we gave you a coupon. Come back in here, you know, come see everything. We got this good barber, right? We got this good barber from the other shop. You know, his equipment might be a little broken, but hey, you know, he does a clean cut, you know. You're going to look good. You're going to look good. Maybe not exciting, but you're going to look good. You're going to look clean. It's going to the purpose is here. And he's mentoring somebody. He's got a little buddy. And little bro, he's on that Instagram. He's on all the social media, and he do be making some pretty clean cuts, not going to lie. He's making great cuts. Home skillet that we just brought in here that's mentoring him. He might hang it up. He might hang it up after a while, or the shop might not keep him. He's here, you know, holiday time, you know. And then Lil Skillet over here, MPJ, you see this, man? He's got 1 million followers already, dog. He's out. Young Buck is really looking for it, but he's gonna cut you. And that's how I feel this Falcons situation. That's how I feel about the Falcons quarterback situation. That's the best analogy I can come up with. Is that the QB situation from Matt Ryan to this group of quarterbacks that we had to this dude over here with Kirk and Michael Penix Jr. You don't want to pay for it because you're like, why am I paying you to do this? But you look clean every time you come out and you're okay. And that's where I think the Falcons are currently going to lean. I mean, even if Kirk Cousins ends up having an unproductive career here in Atlanta, you did the right thing by bringing in the experienced guy so Michael Penix Jr. doesn't get immediately destroyed. So I honestly, I love the Michael Penix Jr. pick because it expresses a lot of freedom for Falcons fans. Crystal, child of God, in the chat, Mrs. Lieutenant Dan in here. Blessings in Jesus' name to first my hubby and then of course the chat. Chat, can we have some hype for Mrs. Lieutenant Dan in the chat there and give her some blessings and some rise up? That would be super nice. She made me a coffee this morning, and I've been sipping on that thing the whole podcast. Oh yeah, coffee. But here we are now with a guy that has high accuracy, the ability to run, but not someone that's just going to take off. You guys, this is going to be bad. You have a quarterback that, without saying a certain first name starting with P, last name starting with M, on a team with a K and a C and red, you have the same type of quarterback. It's a quarterback with a strong arm and good accuracy that, while he needs some development, he's not going to run for 80 yards, but he's definitely going to get you that 10 to 12 if you want him to. And he knows how to slide, and he keeps himself pretty clean. He doesn't take big hits, and he doesn't usually get sacked because he's Mr. Throw-it-away guy. He's Mr. Accuracy. He's Mr. Timing. Isn't that what a good quarterback should be? Falcons fan 408, what's going on, my man? Rise up, stay grounded. If you haven't said hi in the chat, by the way, please come through. Share this out to your friends and family on all the Facebooks and the Instagrams and the Twitters and the. I heard that it got finally converted to X. It's officially X now. Send this out to the Reddits and wherever else this may end up going. But this Falcons draft now sets you up for a successful in and out transfer from a very good quarterback to another very good quarterback, allowing you to have the continuity early on, and then Michael Penix Jr. training with him for a year, 2 years, maybe even 3 or 4. Even if it is a waste and you only get to use Michael Penix Jr. for a minimum of a second contract or even a third, and 3 contracts is crazy, but if you only get to use him, so let's say that you only keep Michael Penix Jr. around for a total of 10 years, so rookie contract and then to a second contract. And he only plays 6 years. Then 6 years of Michael Penix Jr. and a trophy, I'll take it. GATX boy, what's going on? So I'm fairly confident that what Michael Penix Jr. does for this Falcons team is positive. Now, we get to the value part of it. This is something that I want to discuss very quickly. It's bad value. It's bad value if you're a Falcons fan, draft fan, NFL fan, team building guy. Bad value. Terrible value. However, even if it is bad value, I think you've rebuilt your defense. A row, doorless. Even, adding a guy like Braylon Trice. I think those additions are key for you. And you're probably still going to end up adding some players this offseason as camps kind of start dropping some people and some people get some opportunities and you trade for someone or you pick up another free agent. There's plenty. There's plenty still on the free agent market. Are they amazing options? No. Are there still some fantastic options out there? Yes. If the Falcons end up being the type of team that says, look, this is just where we're at right now. We can win with offense, and we can also win with a defense that's still a little incomplete, but maybe it's something that we can grow into. That Rams team, very young. Defensively, very young. With a bunch of little to no real name recognition outside of Aaron Donald. I mean, really honestly. And we're not looking for name recognition. We're looking for dogs, man. Like, we're just looking for people to go out there and go bite. Go out there and go get them. But where the Falcons currently sit right now is a 2024 where not only are they competitive and could possibly win the NFC South, but they've built themselves defensively so that if tough times come ahead and we have to make more cuts or more trades or more decisions and discussions that are difficult for this team, like an AJ, like a Grady, like a Jake Matthews, that this team is prepared to be able to make those moves and then be able to go utilize the draft properly to never need something, but always have the ability to make a desire available. So if the Falcons need a left tackle, that's a problem. Maybe that's why Matthew Bergeron is here. But the Falcons are making these slow additions to build this team into a solid unit that probably resembles something very close to what the Vikings and or a minor version of LA is. That's a positive in my book. I don't know about y'all, but a positive in my book. You're going to win a lot of games with that. You're going to win plenty of games with that. especially in the NFC. But now let's talk a little bit about the schedule. Something that I also want to touch on very quickly. Oh, Dan, you're so good at having all this stuff prepared. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Yeah, I know. I don't have it. I don't have it on lock, guys. Whoa, crazy. Whoa. Nope, that's not it either. Where is this schedule? All right. Falcons taking on Steelers in a 1 p.m. game. How does everybody feel about that one? Do you think Clark Phillips will be the starting CB2? Always thought of him as more of a slot corner. I think they will most likely try out Clark Phillips to be out there. And then if that's not the resource that they want, they'll put Clark Phillips in the slot. Mike Hughes will either get bounced out or they'll go after a free agent option to be able to just solidify that spot. Because I don't know if they're going to pay AJ. So it's a whole different discussion. So let's talk a little bit about this Sunday 1 o'clock Steelers game. If the Falcons end up beating the Steelers, I guess the narrative there is most likely going to be that we beat Arthur Smith and now we can move on. We don't have to talk about Arthur Smith anymore. So if the Falcons beat Arthur Smith-led Steelers offensively, shut them down defensively, but also go out there and perform a good offense, I wouldn't be too surprised if we just, as a fan base, probably just go, we're done with the Arthur Smith talk. We don't have to talk about him again. Turning around and having a Monday night game on the 16th against the Eagles, which I'm going to have to ask, who wrote this into the script? Who wrote this into the script? Who thought this was a good idea? Taking on the Eagles on Monday Night Football. Yeah, they beat the Steelers. Well, I can already see it right now. The Falcons beat the Steelers. Whoopee! Amazing. 1-0 Falcons. Immediately take on the Eagles Monday night, and I believe that game is in Philly. I believe that game is in Philly. Let me look this back up. Yep, in Philly. Crazy. Then Sunday Night Football the following week. So this is interesting. Who again? I don't understand. So I think we could be competitive against Philly, but we may end up losing against them on a Monday Night Football. Then Sunday Night Football against the Chiefs. Is this the trap game? So you beat the Steelers and you go, okay, all right, that was good at home. Started the year off at home. Went to Philadelphia, lose to Philadelphia. Damn. Come home against KC, and could the Falcons beat Kansas City? Or is that a 1-2 record to start off? Man, Kirk might be in trouble early on here. After 3 games, those are pretty tough defenses. So let's say the 1-2. Then we play New Orleans in Atlanta. So we're just playing at home. I mean, we really are just playing at home. We haven't left. We're playing 1, 2, 3, 4 games at home. In the first 5 weeks, we're playing 4 games at home. So, New Orleans at home at 1 p.m. And then Thursday night football in week 5 against Tampa still at home. So we could end up being 3-2. I think we can beat New Orleans, and beating Tampa is like, we can beat them. Come on. We can beat them. That's going to be a great game, though. Those are going to be a great pair of games because you're playing your division games very, very early. So you went through a tough slate of opening games, most of them prime time, and then you play 2 games, or excuse me, 2 games. You play New Orleans at home on a regular Sunday afternoon, and then week 5 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on a Thursday night football game. So turn around and do that on a short week. And then, because I was looking for the bye, and then we leave 10 days later, we leave our house and we go play in week 6 against Carolina in Carolina. And then we have Seattle coming to Atlanta. Again, Sunday, 1 o'clock. Nothing but Sunday 1 o'clocks at this point. And then go to Tampa. That's week 8. And then week 9, we have Dallas in Atlanta. Like, all the tough teams that we're playing against are playing us in Atlanta. New Orleans at New Orleans in November. Week 11, Broncos. We do go to Denver on that one. Bye week. And then we get to play at home against the Chargers in week 13. Week 14, going to Minnesota. That's going to be a great storyline as well. Week 15, at Raiders. Week 16, at home against the Giants. So I'm going to say win, loss, win. So that's 3-2, 4-2, 5-2, 6-2, 6-3, 6-4, 7-4, 8-4 after 10 weeks, 9-4 after 11 weeks, how can you have 9-4? I've counted something wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3-2, 3-2, 4-2, 4-3, 5-3. No. 4-4, 4-4, 4-4, 5-4, 6-4, 7-4. 7-4 after 11 weeks, bye week, then then we play the Chargers. 8-4, 9-4, 10-4, 11-4, 12-4. I think the Falcons could be 13-4. Man, that back half of the schedule looks really good. Yeah. I'm going to go 13-4. Based on this alone on this podcast episode, I'm going to say 13-4. That's the Falcons for the coming season. I know also on the next episode, based on what we're speaking about now, we didn't really cover the defense at all. But on our next episode, we'll cover the defense. And we'll talk a little bit about that, and I definitely want you guys to chime in and let me know what you guys think. But thank you guys for having me. Rise up and stay grounded. Peace and hair grease to everybody in the chat. I hope that you guys all have an absolutely blessed day. Terrence Holmes, Tyler, Chris Edwards, as a fan. Stan Anthony, Archangel, the Matthew, Crystal Child of God, Falcons fan 408. Rise up, stay grounded to all of you guys, and I hope you guys have an absolutely blessed rest of your day. I'm going to go prepare for work, and then maybe we'll put out another episode tomorrow or the next day. Peace, hair grease, rise up, stay grounded. I'll talk to you guys later.